Alrighty. Hello, everyone, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome, welcome, welcome. On behalf of AIBIA, I want to welcome you to Pulse, exploring Africa's heartbeat of innovation. It is such a joy to see us come together, us students, enthusiasts, entrepreneurs, researchers, investors, policymakers, all of us here gathered here in one space with a shared purpose to celebrate and shape Africa's innovation story. When I chose the theme Pulse, I honestly don't know why. It happened quite randomly. I was somewhere and I didn't have a book nearby, but I had tissues. So I just like grabbed tissues and I just wrote down pulse with an exclamation point. I'm like, that would be such a nice theme for our next event. And so I at the time I thought, it sounds catchy, it sounds nice, but then it really wasn't about the mm, catchiness of the word. It was really more about a reflection of something that is real for all of us, right? Across Africa, there is a heartbeat, as a continent, and you can hear it in the startup founder building solutions from a small hub in Nairobi. You can feel it in the policymaker drafting frameworks responsible for responsible AI in Lagos. You can see it in the researcher in Kenya. You can see it in Egypt. All over in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, in Cameroon. I know that we have a very diverse community here at AIBIA, and we have over 10 African countries represented. And really, the heartbeat is innovation, and it's not just slowing down, it is getting stronger as we go, as we evolve, as we build, it is getting stronger. And today we are here to listen a little bit to it, to amplify it, to connect with one another in ways that keep it beating. So you can expect game-changing keynotes, bold conversations, and community spotlights that will remind you why Africa is just catching up. It is leading in unique context-driven ways. I've had very interesting conversations with builders in decentralized AI, in blockchain, in Web3, and all of that here in Africa, and even those in diaspora that are actively building for Africa. And I tell you, not from an aspirational point of view, but from reality, that we are in the next decade is going to be a decade of so much growth and evolution. It is going to be a decade where we see Africa truly lead in ways that are unique to us, because the tools we are building, the centers, the applications, these are just the things, right, that we can look forward to. So I invite you, lean in, ask your questions, share your story, share your insights, make a comment, just be as present as you can be. This is not just an event. I hope it's that is not just what you remember it as, but it's a rhythm that we're building together, just to lean more into the metaphor of pulse. So thank you for being here. Let's feel the pulse as much as we can. For your information, this meeting is being recorded to serve as replay for members of our community and beyond who are unable to attend at this time. So let's remember to speak kindly to one another, to be as sensitive as possible, to be respectful, and to also rowdiness and all of its great virtual call etiquette. Please, let's maintain that. So thank you everyone again for being here, and I hope that you stay to the end. This is supposed to be a 45-ish minutes conversation, so let's just be here today. For the first time in AIBIA, we have somebody all the way from Egypt as our speaker. His name is Mina Essam. I hope I pronounced that properly.
Yeah, actually, it's very good pronunciation. Thanks for this.
Oh, wow, that's really, really nice. Thank you so much. Mina is here. He's a staff machine learning engineer at ServiceNow, specializing in computer vision and generative AI. His work spans diverse domains from developing FDA and CE approved medical imaging applications to building smart city systems for collision detection, pedestrian safety, SLAM, and object tracking. Currently, Mina focuses on advancing AI applications through generative AI and retrieval augmented generation vision RAG, exploring how large multimodal models and intelligent automation can solve real world challenges. He holds a master's in computer science from Arizona State University and is passionate about building AI driven solutions um, that creates meaningful impact across industry. Beyond his professional work, Mina enjoys traveling, philosophy, and film. So, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of applauses. Very impressive bio, right? Yeah. We give you guys good stuff over here. But yeah, so much applauses already. But ladies and gents, let's welcome Mina. Mina, hello. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks a lot for having me. I'm actually like feeling the warm welcome from the room. Like thanks everyone. Like I wish it's like a very like small chat, friendly chat, like what's going on, what we see as potential like opportunities in Africa, what we can like learn from each other. Since like I'm also from Egypt, which is in Africa, so a lot of the issues that we are gonna mention today, I have faced already in the like my practical experience. So like I wish my talk would help you or inspire you in some way, and hopefully I can see all of you one day in person. So thanks a lot for the great introduction and the warm welcome. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mina. Thank you so much, Mina. All right, so just to head into our chat, we have some questions that we had drafted that just address the topic, and so we're just going to be like getting through to that. Please, if you do have a question while we're answering one question, just you can drop it in the chat box or you can raise your hand, and then we'll take that question. If you have like a comment or an insight, you also like to share similar experience, whatever it is, we encourage your participation as much as possible. So yeah, Mina, over to you. When you hear the phrase AI applications rooted in African realities, what comes to mind for you personally?
I guess like one of the biggest issues currently we have for like any AI application that is deployed in Africa, even Middle East, is having like a huge issue where it actually lacks either the language support, so this is like a huge barrier from the beginning, or lacks the culture, like context of the country where it's actually being deployed. And when this actually happens, it makes like deploying or using any AI application actually a little bit challenging. For example, I can give you an example of where I have like seen this issue before, and why I'm saying by starting with the issue to reach eventually an AI application that's rooted in Africa. So the current issue is the culture. For example, one of the applications that I worked on, I guess most of them, I'm gonna mention one in healthcare, which is the breast cancer detection. I guess in Africa, we have a huge problem in healthcare where there is an overwhelmingly disproportionate number of doctors to patients who need to be treated, right? And like people can wait for weeks before actually getting diagnosed after like doing a scan, especially in Egypt. I'm gonna talk from my perspective where I wanted to like deploy this system. And when, of course, like you start from where everyone else stopped. So you see the literature, you see the latest models, the latest advancements. And once you take those and try to apply them in Africa, like those like models become completely disasters. Like they aren't even like valid for production. Like they don't even give good results. So I guess like to say an AI application that's rooted in Africa, it has to hold the culture African, the identity of culture, the identity of African people. I guess in Africa we have a lot of diversity in Africa. So Africa is a very large area, but this type of issues what actually come to my mind when you say an AI rooted application in Africa. So I don't see really an potential applications that I can confidently say this is rooted at actually solving a very big issue or solving an ambitious problem that we can say, hey, this is the first pilot of an AI application that's going to be rooted in our culture, rooted in our systems, and we can rely on it. So this is what actually comes to mind is the issue, not the applications itself.
Yes, I totally agree. It's honestly just more than the applications itself. Is also how they're able to solve contextually our own challenges and our own problems. Something that we had the first reason why we had set up this organization, this community, was because we wanted to see a continent, a world where um, AI tools sound like us, think like us, solve our systemic challenges as well. Because we know that these tools were created by the West to solve the Western man's problems, right? To augment their realities, and it's just to improve their day to day. And so we just really want to see how AI can um, take into consideration all of the uniqueness and diversities that exist in the African system, and even in our specific systems like in our agriculture, and the kind of crops that we farm, and in our healthcare, and the unique challenges that African women face, and African men face, and African children face, all of these things. So yeah, it's really fascinating that you shared that. Thank you. All right, my next question is sort of similar to the first, but it reads: what moment or experience made you realize that Africa really needs its own approach to AI and not just imported solutions?
Yeah, I guess a lot, to be honest, a lot of incidents. Maybe the same incident I mentioned about the breast cancer. Also, I guess one more applications that stand out before. So before I was developing an application that actually designed to propose diet plans for those who actually with a special like nutritional needs. For example, someone or some woman with for example, like iron deficiency, they have kidney issues, they have heart issues. So those type of people need like special like diet types that actually fits their lifestyle. But at the same time, like they should be enjoyable because most of those people, when the doctor says, "Hey, cut this, cut that," they usually like hate this advice and they really don't follow it. So this was the idea. Like, let's design a diet plan for those. And the biggest issue was that we have found is again like no mention or no like a model out there that actually encodes the culture of the African countries, how they eat, what they eat, when this actually is grown in specific parts of Africa. So this is like basically we went from like a completely black territory where you can find almost no data that supports your like research, supports your algorithms to run on. So this is one of the incidents that actually said like triggers, hey, like this is a simple thing. Why not? This is not included. We're not talking about very big problem like healthcare or farming. Like, why is this not even included? Like, this should be available online. But it turns out like the like presence of African data when these like models are trained online. I mean, like large language models and their like counterparts like these are usually very insignificant compared to the other documents. So the model pays very little attention to those, and that's why they usually once are live in production, you can't really rely on them to get accurate answer for anything related to Africa. So I guess this is one of the incidents that triggered us to this point.
That's very interesting. I think, yes, like you said, a series of events have really triggered, us to this point, and it's I don't know what the word to use, to know that these experiences you've had firsthand has kept you, has directed you, and has rooted you in this kind of career, and it has been a major drive for the solutions that you are bringing. Is also very comforting to hear, right? That yes, there are people who have experienced problems, and they're able to see how the tools that currently are available worldwide are able to be leveraged or fine-tuned to solving our own problems. So it's more than talking about the problem, it's also about, yeah, okay, so this is where we're at, this is where we need to get to, and this is what we can use to get there. So yeah, that's really great for you to share that. Thank you so much. Okay, so my next question then would be, where do you see the biggest opportunities for AI to solve unique African problems today? There are so many fields, right? But looking at Africa as this very large people that we are, where do you see the biggest opportunities for AI to actually begin to solve our problems, right? Whether it's like healthcare, agriculture, finance, or like if it's another field that you are thinking, just share that.
I guess I would say a lot. There are like a lot of opportunities out there in Africa, since as we mentioned, like Africa is a pretty new like playground where AI actually needs to be applied, right? So it hasn't touched many areas, many places in Africa. But what I see is like personally from my like personal experience in my career, like the two biggest like components or two biggest fields that we can like focus on is the healthcare and for farming or agriculture. I guess this is like by far the most important, and they demand our attention if we really would like to do anything in the future. Like we have to get a better healthcare system, because a lot of African countries have very bad healthcare systems. As I mentioned, like this was a study, not I'm not giving those numbers up. Like a lot of patients, they don't even find the doctors that see the reports and just direct them where they should go. So like for example the breast cancer cases, they can wait once they scan like 3 to 4 weeks until they even like directed where they should go. And in this period of time, the tumor might actually have grown faster in this period of time and made the case move from one stage of cancer to another stage, which makes the treatment and the complication even more like severe. And people like usually when they say this a long waiting time, they just give up. I'm not gonna find a spot anyway because I don't have a lot of money. So I guess this is one critical part, and there are like many like opportunities we can apply this in Africa. For example, like what we did before, we made like a triaging system where it just gets the image once they are scanned for like the priest, and like it scans them and identifies how severe this case is, and it prioritizes the case for doctors, so they don't see cases randomly. And once they see the most important cases at first, we have reduced the waiting time for those who really need like treatment and special care by, I guess, like um, 80% or so. Like it's one-fourth of the time that they used to like to wait, which is like a very good achievement, but it required a lot of effort and data collection, which is very difficult to do in Africa. So I guess this is one, healthcare. And the second, of course, farming. We have a lot of issues with our crops. We do it a little bit an unstructured way. We do it the traditional way. The world have moved on to like like targeting or removing pests from crops, like using drones and so on, targeted fertilization. So they like maximize the crop yield. We still having a lot of famines that happen here in Africa, like sadly every year almost. And this is also going to be a challenge because we all know that we are going to face a water problem, like fresh water problem in the future. So if we do not like optimize our farming methods, we are going to like run out into other issues that are much more severe in the future. So I guess those are the two most prominent techniques. And to my opinion, like a lot of people have done a lot of great work in that. We need to see and just start to act.
Yes, I 100% agree. I think that if anybody would even also asks me on the road off the top of my head, I probably would say yes, healthcare. and our agriculture, right? And probably things such as our access to clean water and water sanitation. I think all of that could be under the umbrella of healthcare. But I think if we can solve those two, we would have saved ourselves centuries, right? And we can then begin to like focus on other things that can just really just improve our lifestyles, but to at least cement um an optimal state. Healthcare and agriculture would be it for me. But on the flip side, Mina, what are the blind spots? Areas where AI risks missing the mark if we don't design it our context in mind. So yeah, it's great. Let's use AI. But like, what areas do you think that, oh, if we are not so careful, we might end up with a catastrophe on our hands?
Like when you say like a blind spot, you mean the system actually failing in production, or what do you mean by blind spot specifically?
Well, yeah, sort of. So for instance, there's AI in agric, AI in healthcare. So if we are using AI for such fields or such systems, and we go about it um haphazardly of sorts, we don't take our context into building those tools or using those existing tools, and we just use the AI as it currently is, or the tools as they currently are. Where do you think that, which areas do you think that if we apply such recklessness would end up with a problem more than a solution, as we would have intended?
Um, I guess all of them can end up in disasters, but I may like look at it from a different perspective, like what actually we are missing to develop such AIs that do not actually make disasters once they are put in production. Like the number one is the data collection. So we don't have like a lot of data in Africa in all the fields, almost all the fields, like none in healthcare, none in language, none in literature, none in culture, none in like as I mentioned, like dieting and how people eat, what type of farms or crops they farm and land, what their climate look like. So a lot of that actually is not present in a structured way that is actually used or fed to appropriate AI systems that understand it and can respond based on it. So, like for us as engineers, we know like once a model is produced, we know how to monitor it well. So we know, for example, if it goes wrong, if it suspiciously tries to make bad calls, we like terminate it immediately. We have like backup strategies. We have a lot of ideas. But again, if you have released a model that's not like trained on the data that's coming in production, it is useless to be used. It's gonna be just useless and maybe more harmful if it's in healthcare or farming, or I guess like any other field. For example, finance. Can you imagine like your bank account is destroyed after a new AI system is deployed? Right? It doesn't make any sense. So I guess the data is the blind spot for AI systems in Africa.
Yes, yes. I was with you. Yes, I totally agree because we really do not have the. I remember, I think a few um sessions ago. I can't quite remember the exact month. Was it July or June? We had Henry. I can't pronounce his last name properly. And I remember the prep call that we had leading to the events that we had with him. He basically is working on building better um data centers in his country, but he's doing it, from Washington, and he's also like scaling and doing all of these things. And I remember the conversation that we are just talking about how we can save ourselves a lot of years if we can at least fix the data problem right across Africa. There's just no data centers, there's just no way to collect data, no way to quantify it, no way to analyze it properly. We really don't know how many, even as down as the population, or the diversity in population and all of these things. And basically AI models are mostly LLM models, and they are trained on data. And if the data isn't there, we begin to then deploy solutions for a data set that it doesn't actually exist or is insufficient for the population it has been designed to help. So yes, I do think that generally I would agree with you that a big blind spot for AI use and deployment has to be data, and our data centers and our data collection and organization. And I think that if we can, perhaps in a way concurrently, simultaneously address these two things as we go as a continent, we'll end up doing so much in really little time. And it's not going to be an easy journey, right? But at least it's going to be one that we would not regret. It's going to be a very, very fruitful one. All right, then. Thank you, Amina. To the audience, thank you so much for listening thus far. If you do have a question, please leave it in the chat box or raise your hand and we'll attend to you. Okay, so my next question then would be, how do you think grassroots innovation in Africa differs from Silicon Valley style AI development? Just to put simply, how do you think building in Africa, innovation in Africa, differs from innovation in Silicon Valley, as regarding AI deployments and development?
Okay, I guess a lot. Like in the way you build and to try to develop a system. For example, in Silicon Valley, like the process of building an AI system, I guess this question builds on just the previous one. So to build an AI system, the first thing that you need is data collection, right? And one of the issues that we have in Africa is that we do not have systems or regulations by the governments how we should collect the data, who should collect the data, what rights should be preserved, and so on. So usually these type of like regulations are very, very well known, very clear in Silicon Valley and other like hubs in Europe. Like across the world, there are like many countries that have set their own data rights and data collections. So it's clear for you if you're an entrepreneur or you like just an engineer who actually would like to join the AI, you know that you have opportunity to collect data, test your idea, and maybe you can like understand what is the cost of this and you move forward with that. Unlike here in Africa, it's a little bit unclear and unstructured. The first thing is the data unclear. The second is, okay, now we have collected the data. Where is the resources to run these systems? Are we going to host them locally? For example, like many systems do require like offline storage for the data. For example, the medical systems do not allow you to share patient information publicly, like upload it to a cloud or an external server, because this is like sensitive type of data. We don't have this in here in Africa. We don't have the computational resource. We don't have the networking resources. For example, like I do remember like one of our systems that we developed for like heart like segmentation, and like this system was deployed in two different places as a pilot step, one in US, one in like three places, one in US, one in Europe, and here in Egypt. So the time that the images are like take to be sent to our AI systems in US and Europe is very, very fast. Here, for example, in Egypt, due to the network issues, it may even fail. Like it doesn't it doesn't reach or take a long time. So actually, those are like constraints on them in themselves. Like you cannot say, hey, I have a real-time system or a system that's performing fast for critical decision making. So you don't have like this type of resources. So, like what I see usually, what happens in the Silicon Valley, everything is clear. You know where you're gonna get your data. You know at least the process. You know where you're gonna deploy your application. You know you can use whatever type of hardware resources. You know the networking is fine for you. Uh, like Africa, we calculate almost every worst case scenario for those type of things. Like usually a lot of ideas we come up with do not get the chance to be deployed or even like tried out because of one of those constraints. Like either we cannot get data, the resources are very scarce to run those systems, or maybe the network is very bad to not support real time, for example, or like near real time decision making. So I guess in Africa, you like try to use a pre-built solution. So you're just a user for whatever built by the Silicon Valley. So you just need to know how to wrap it fine. So you can produce it, like give it to your customer, and they can use these models out of the box. Like this is what I see usually happens in Africa.
That's very insightful, right? And well, it's also very interesting to hear how different our worlds currently are. And I think that's something that might help in a way is if a lot of us developers and founders and builders also get rid of the delusion that we are in a similar world and begin to build with the resources that we do have and with the systems that we do live in with the world, keeping our worlds in mind and in context, not in a way to limit our mindsets, but in a way that we don't think ourselves as other. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, thank you so much. So my next question is a bit of a personal one, but I'm sure that people here on the call and people who may replay this um, conversation, this video, can learn. So would like to know, is there a story of an AI project or a use case in Africa that has really stuck with you? Something that's felt alive with local relevance. Like, has somebody done something that has actually been great for their locality?
Yeah. Um, I guess I would choose the breast cancer detection and diagnosis software that I was mentioning before. Like this type of software was a lot, as I mentioned, a lot of challenges in the beginning. A lot of challenges. Took too long to figure out how we are actually gonna move forward with this, if we are ever gonna move forward with such an application. And like the struggle or unclear like instructions on how you can get data, the people are not so cooperative with you. Like for example, if you move like reach out to hospitals and say, hey, we might need like data to support your like decision makings with doctors, they say, okay, this actually we don't have clear uh, like constraint, like we have don't have like clear like regulations on how to do this. So we are gonna wait and we are gonna write agreements, and this took actually very long time. And like by the end, the things that actually moved me, once this system is produced and it got actually 80% reduction in the waiting time. This was very impressive to everyone. Now everyone actually is interested. Hey, I can maximize my revenue by using the AI. Then I'm interested to share more data with you. Now the companies are actually after you to give them like to give you more data to collaborate with you, so you can deploy your systems at their end. So I guess it takes one spark for each field, like one hardworking spark, until you try to inspire others, and they give you like the results that you are actually aiming for.
Okay, that is very impressive and very encouraging to learn, right? I do think that breast cancer and breast cancer predictions and solving with AI is honestly one of the best things that could happen to African women, because we really do need a better healthcare system as regarding our cancer predictions and our cancer treatments, right? Okay, so thank you so much, Mina, and I'm really glad to learn about this. So my next question then would be, a lot of times we talk about AI and we talk about Web3 and we talk about growth in these sectors, but many times we forget that one very major factor to consider is ethics and trust with these systems, right? Because again, these tools are built on data, and data um, is people really. It's just numbers that represent our realities, and a lot of times private information, right? So my question for you would be this: what does responsible AI look like in an African city, town, village context compared to Western definitions? What does responsible AI look like for us?
Um, I guess like responsible AI has a lot of terms attached to it. For example, how you are not like you have to show you are not biased to one group, one ethnicity, one gender over the others. You have to show this before you even like present your solution. And again, this type of regulations need to be set by the policymakers for each country individually, since those are a little bit like different from each one. Also, like one more thing actually to have is the data privacy like maintenance. How are you, if you are gonna like collect any type of data, you have to provide clear instructions how you collected those data and how you actually preserve the privacy for each individual data that was collected. I guess also this needs to be revisited by each country independently. Also, this type of regulations like differ like for each country, depends on where this country on the curve of the AI development. Like usually when they still is really starting out, they usually make it a little bit open for like collecting as many data as possible. And as this country moves forward to be more mature with AI, they set more and more clear boundaries and regulations for each like data collection strategy. So I think those are the two main things that if we start with, I guess this is going to be a little bit enough to put Africa on the start journey of developing its own AI like platforms, like how you are gonna remove the bias, and also how are you gonna like preserve the privacy. And there's like this, to be honest, are not easy. By the way, like there are still techniques to prevent those, but they're not easy. Like there are still like very ambiguous gray areas that we run out to, even if we're collecting data from Europe or US. So I guess we still have to figure out, as I mentioned, like for each country individually, but those are the main two pillars that I would start with.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. You know, here I was hoping that we all get it right. But not just hoping, but also doing to make sure that we all get it right. Okay, then. For my next questions, you had already answered it, so I'm just going to move on to the next, and I'm going to be asking yet another personal one in a way. The question is this: if you could design one flagship AI application today, tomorrow, fully resourced and built for Africa, what would it be and why?
Um, I guess if I would have to choose like one application that I'm gonna get like all the resources for, it would be a crop management like system, AI system, a system that actually scans your like each specific like seed, and it measures it over the time. It gets the real time data, what type of irrigation is used, what is the percentage of each nutrient in the soil, and it gives you like step-by-step analytics for this type of crop, whether it's gonna be producing a lot, a little, estimates the crop estimation. So this is gonna save a lot in the future. It's gonna increase the production rate, so it will prevent like less starvations, or at least it's gonna like help you predict, hey, I'm not gonna have enough like food for this year. Maybe I start working around this. So it's more of a predictive like system that would help a lot of African countries that really need this.
Yeah, I do agree. It really would help a lot of African countries, especially those particularly into cash crop, production, people with oil plantations and cocoa plantations. But yeah, and even just for these small time farmers and the homeowner farmers, right? Because a lot of the things that something that we don't even realize exists in a large proportion is food insecurity, right? And we've not really managed learning the seasons and the plantings and all of that. And we just suffer a lot when there's too much rain and there's too much sun. And well, people know things based on experience and, oh, my grandfather and my father. I think that, yeah, AI can potentially better our production of food, our management of food, our storing of it, and yeah, obviously help in fixing food insecurity. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. And if you do want to start in the building, and if you eventually do build it, please, let me know. I think I'd want to be part of the front liners. Yeah,
Sure.
contribute
Yeah,
to
you're more than
con-
welcome.
yeah, contributing to such a tool. I really would love that. So thank you, Mina. Again, audience, if you have any questions or contribution, okay, yeah, there's Rock Steady had said thank you for the presentation, passion, and showing us what is possible. I think that was going to you, Mina, when you're talking about breast cancer thing. So yeah, thank you guys. So yeah, then Mina, my next question would be this. We are almost wrapping up, but my next question would be this. How do we make sure that the next generation of African innovators, and I'm talking about kids who are just learning about AI, kids who are just leaving high school, trying to pick their college majors, how can we make sure that the next generation of African innovators feel ownership of AI and not just alienation from it? They feel like, yes, this is theirs and not just an alienation from it.
Um, I guess one like major like part may not come directly from like those like aspiring individuals. It may come actually from the governments each country. Each government should actually embrace AI. They should actually see the value for the AI. So they should support like the students. They should give scholarships. It should like they should grants anything that would help those students acquire the latest state of the art knowledge from like where everyone stands. Uh, like for example, if you remember in the past, like, US was the lead like the lead country in the AI research. But like China, after some time, it was able to catch up with US, and even now it's a little bit over the US and the or ahead of the US in the research domain. So they did not like sit still. Like they sent their students to US. They learned from the best universities. They learned the best programs, and then those people like came back to China and they started making their own like companies that actually does useful things or solves like critical problems in China. So now China is in a very different place in the world. I guess this same idea would happen with almost all the countries with more or less restrictions, but at least those countries can get like a lot better positions than they are currently today if they invest in this AI by the government. Also, one issue when the AI is not supported in each country by the government, like talents like those who we see today would actually get out of the university and would like to continue their education in one of the countries like US or Europe and never come back. They would like to work in a multinational companies that pays well, that they find good career and settle down for this. So this actually takes the innovation from Africa. Like I have worked with many talented engineer in Africa, from Egypt, from Morocco, from Kenya, even from South Africa as well. Like very talented people, but they eventually all had the plan to leave Africa because they don't see like a big future for them in there. So I guess one big like move from governments is to enable education and provide good amount of scholarship and grants to those students.
Hmm. Yes, that's very insightful, very profound, really. If our governments begin to adopt AI, people begin to see that, oh yeah, our it's very interesting conversations around this happen on social media. And I remember one that happened a couple of months ago, and the person and people were saying stuff like, okay, but like your government is not really talking about AI right now. They don't even understand it much themselves, so they don't even see how it's going to be benefits. They don't even see why or how they should fall behind, such innovations. And really, we have issues with water and issues with security and issues with this, and you being this big time dreamer somewhere in Lagos, or in Nairobi or in Egypt, you're thinking these things, but like when the government is not fully in support of, so it's just going to make it much harder for the innovators themselves. So yeah, I do think that for the next generation, one thing that could help is seeing more people in places of influence and with powers for behind AI. But let's to hope in, right? Those of us who are able to do things in an unrestricted way of sorts, if we can, at least we begin to represent possibilities to these people. Okay, thank you, Mina. Very lovely insights you've shared thus far. So I'm going to be asking you a futuristic question now, and it is: if Africa's innovation has a heartbeat, leaning into our metaphor, what rhythm do you think AI will add to it in the next 5 years?
I'm sorry, the voice was breaking up. Could you like just repeat the question?
Oh, okay. So sorry. If Africa's innovation has a heartbeat, what rhythm do you think AI will add to it in the next 5 years?
Okay, okay. Like if we are gonna imagine that we are
Yes.
actually in a rhythm, okay. Like I guess the rhythm of like adopting any technology like has the same pattern all over the sciences. You initially start like provide a lot of promises until you reach out a point where it's a little bit difficult to continue, and then you move down a little bit until another boom or hit and the technology comes out, and then you gain momentum again and so on. I guess Africa is like, since it has not started its full journey to embracing AI, I guess like in the next 5 years, if we like as I see a lot of governments now do realize how important the data is, how important the digital transformation is. Also, I'm talking about the like here also from Egypt, a lot of improvements have been like proposed in the infrastructure, the resources that we have. We still have a long way to go, but I guess from my like what I see currently, I guess in the next 5 years, we at least would have the essential systems, the essential AI systems that are gonna provide meaningful like input to our lives in healthcare, in agriculture, in also finance. Like a lot of research is now being done in finance since it's a hot area. So I expect those to be the first three frontiers that would hit by the AI. Again, if we are gonna get specifically, I guess like in healthcare would be diagnosis of medical images and medical reports, like how what this patient he or she has.
Hmm. Yeah. Yes. That's very insightful, very profound as well. Um, yes, I think so too. That we really cannot quantify, but it's also going to be a very interesting world where every field potentially can be affected by AI, improved by AI, and it's really would be interesting to see. Okay, then my last question for you. You've been amazing thus far. um what is one call of action you'd like to leave with our audience today about AI and Africa's future?
Um, I guess like it depends on where you are in life. If you are someone who is willing to get into the career of I would say start now. The AI is actually promising, still in the rising phase, and it has a lot of potentials to be solved. Even if it saturates like worldwide, you still have a lot of ways you can apply AI in Africa and a lot of opportunities. So start today. I would recommend start with basics because a lot of the people who I interview those days are actually based on chat GPT answers. So they really lack the depth of information that actually they cannot make an innovative idea with any AI system. So this is the first. If you are an entrepreneur, I guess, like still be motivated. You are about to shine. I guess the next 5 years, as you mentioned, there are going to be a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurs to show their potential, what their like bold ideas are, how they are going to achieve them. You have to be really flexible with AI because it is tricky. Uh, like to have a system in the production, so you have to be as flexible as possible with your expectations and flexible with the audience you're trying to serve.
Alrighty. Brilliant. And start today and start with the basics if you want to at least change the future of Africa. Thank you so much, Mina. Thank you. I've had a very interesting time learning from you today. And thank you to our audience. I'm not seeing any questions or any comments. So can we say that everybody understands? Everybody has learned, everybody is ready. Oh, okay. All right. Reactions. So yeah, everybody understands. And none of us have any questions. Okay, fair enough. All right then. I think that we can, wrap up now. We've had a very receptive audience who have listened from beginning to the end. So that's really lovely. Thank you, everybody. What a time we've had, right? What a time we've had. Thank you for being a part of Pulse today. We've heard about how AI can how AI, blockchain, tech, they are not just abstract tools, but they are living solutions when we see them rooted in our realities. And it's not a white man's thing, it's not a Western man's thing. It's also something that the African man can benefit from, can build, can improve, can transform, can use. But the solutions from these tools can touch every field that we can think of and the everyday lives of people across our continent. But the heartbeat leading to our metaphor again does not stop here, does not stop when this event ends. Each of us has to carry it forward in our work, in our collaborations, in our critical thinking. Mina was mentioning how a lot of people give ChatGPT answers with interview questions. And so, yeah, you know what? Let that sink with you that, yeah, I'm also going to be a critical thinker. I'm going to have the creator's mindset. And, every idea that we've shared here today is a seed. And the responsibility to nurture it rests with us. Every possibility that Mina has shown us is it's a seed right now. It's just for you to broaden your mindset, to expand your horizon, and to see just what is possible and be able to walk into more. So yeah, thank you, Mina, for lending your voice. Thank you to all of you who sat from beginning to the end, listening from wherever you are in the world. Thank you for making this possible. Let's remember that, yeah, this is not the end of our conversation. This is just the beginning of a movement. So thank you all. So stay inspired, stay bold. If you're not a member of our community, then you can join our community on WhatsApp, Telegram, or Discord. The links are in the chat box. And we are also on social media. We're on X, we're on LinkedIn, so you could follow us. We share very interesting pieces there and updates for our events. We do this every month. We have a conversation like this, sometimes bigger, sometimes much intimate, like when we do Twitter Spaces. But there's something for you. We have a couple of hubs running. There's the African Women in AI hub for African women learning in AI, building in AI. There's the AI in Healthcare hub, the AI in Education hub. AI and real estate. A couple of hubs are also on their way. So be a part of what we are doing here. It might look small now, but we are not small. We are getting there. We are improving. We are building, transform Africa as much as we can. So yeah, thank you, Mina. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, it's such a beautiful person. Beautiful time we've had today. Thank you to all of our audience, and I wish everybody a lovely rest of day. Have have a lovely rest of the day. Until next time, I was so happy to be your host today. My name is Miriam McQuarrie, and I'm the program manager here at AIBIA. And yeah, thank you everyone, and
Thanks a
goodbye.
lot. Enjoy the call. Good luck.
Thank you, Mina.